Now, to continue on the last part, the third part of bird imagery based on the text outline we came up with 6 parts. It has 6 key topics for bird imagery. The topics are bird figures, anthropomorphic, figures with bird characteristics, which are zoomorphic, accessories, symbols, and then what we didn't really talk about are birds in narrative and birds in landscape. And there's a couple of parts to this. Um, and The first is birds in narratives. And we don't have a lot to talk about here. We have 3 Jataka tales, numbers 16, 22, and 34. And they are about the baby quail, and the story is about the power of honesty, the noble uh, the noble goose, a tale of friendship, and the woodpecker, kindness without thought of reward. So these are very common, and we have them on the website, and you can easily look them up. But then we have an unusual kind of narrative, and it's the only one that I've really found so far. It's quite possible there's more, but it's incarnation lineage related, and it's to do with the Desi Sangjajatso. Now, the Desi Sangjajatso was one of the Desis. He was the most important, maybe the most famous, most long-lived, possibly, of the Desis of the fifth Dalai Lama in the 17th century. The Desi is like the regent. He's like the right-hand man, or the man who steps in when the Dalai Lama is demised, and he helps to find the next Dalai Lama and helps to train him. So, in the incarnation lineage of the Desi Sangjajatso, if we go back to the early lineage, then we do find a parrot. So that's a bird. And then there's a whole narrative about this parrot and what it represents and what it means and where it comes from. Unfortunately, I do not know all of these stories. The only text I'm really aware of was in Tibet House, New Delhi, and I don't know if it's been seen in recent decades, but back in the 60s and early 70s, it was there, and it was a verse kind of praise of the Desi Sangjajatso and his incarnation lineage, and in there is the story of the parrot, and there are also other references which knowledgeable people will be able to talk more about. Now, so that's birds in narrative. So it's not a big area. Just the 3 Jataka tales, and then the Desi Sangjajatso with his previous incarnation. What's also worth mentioning is he also had a horse incarnation, and then we have to remember that the Dalai Lamas had a rabbit incarnation. I believe the Panchen Lamas had no animals in the lineage at all. These 3 lineages were all invented at the same time. The Dalai Lamas, the Panchen Lama, and the Desi Sangjajatso were all really invented in the 17th century, and they're all tied together. All 3 are interwoven, although it just didn't work out that way because the Desi fell afoul of the powers that be in the early 18th century, and then he was murdered, and then his incarnation line was not continued. So this whole plan of having the Dalai Lama, Panchen, and the Desi all intertwined together and descending through time up to the present never worked out. Okay, now let's move on to birds in landscape. This is actually really an art history discussion because the birds in landscape are primarily decorative, and we have 2 main areas really of where we find these birds, and it's with the Stavira Buddhist elders, the Arhats, Lohans, paintings. We can have many birds depicted, and they're all peaceful birds because the Stavira, the elders are peaceful in nature. They're monks. They're meditative. Then we have Siddha figures, and remember, there's 3 types of Mahasiddhas. There's lay people, there's monks, and then there's the Siddha or Heruka appearance, where they look a little wild. They look like semi-peaceful, semi-wrathful deities like Chakrasambhara with 1 face or 2 arms, or Hebadra with 1 face and 2 arms. That's where it comes from, this whole Siddha appearance. But Siddhas are also laymen, and they're also monastics, or women, laymen, or nuns in some cases. So with the siddhas, who have the heruka appearance, or the semi-peaceful, semi-wrathful, wild appearance, then usually with them we find more wild birds like vultures, owls, scavengers, eagles, hawks, more aggressive birds. But then we can have other sets of paintings, such as we have a very famous set of 7 paintings of the incarnation, Dalai Lama incarnations, and done by Kazi Lasso. It was done around between 1815 and 1820 in East Tibet, in the just south of the Chamdo area. It's actually the Triap monastery, and we have a set of 7 paintings, and they're just filled with birds, beautiful birds of all types. And so we do find birds used by some artists as very decorative, filling out the landscape and adding a whole level of beauty to the composition. So that's it. We're sort of done with birds for now. These 6 key topics are kind of it. We've done 3 videos, so we're just going to end there for the time being, until more questions come up or more interesting topics about birds come up. So you can press the like button, you can subscribe, you can join HAR on Patreon, and of course you can make a donation on the homepage of Himalayan Art Resources.